thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And in fact, yes, the Auditor General did make some comments and provided a very helpful report that looked at the effectiveness of community corrections. And in fact, what the member opposite didn't point out was that approximately 75% of our corrections clients have actually not come back under community supervision for a new offence within a 2-year time frame. So, Mr. Speaker, we continue to lead. British Columbia does an exceptional job. We will continue to look at the recommendations provided by the Auditor General. We appreciated those. In fact, there were a number that were related to the way that records were kept. We have accepted all of those recommendations and will continue to work hard to improve corrections services within the province.
I can understand how, being in Parliament would be very difficult because, there is 4.1 million people in the province, right? So keep that in perspective.
The comments made by the Auditor General was that the tracking was inadequate.
That's a lot of people not taking responsibility for themselves and their own actions, and how they participate in the poverty of the mind and the entitlement mentality.
The problem is, on domestic violence,
so,
is the lack of action that follows empty promises. Over 4,000 people convicted of domestic violence are living in the community, with the majority having a substance abuse or mental health issue. Government was warned of the seriousness of the domestic violence issue in a report by the Children's Representative in 2009. It was told again in the Auditor General's report about inadequate training for probation officers, and then last week we saw the Representative for Children and Youth.
It's because we're living in a society where violence is used as a means to, move up the ladder.
And what action will the government take to prove that their most recent reassurances aren't just more empty promises?
And it's used by different means, like it's not just hit somebody, There's all kinds of forms of violence.
Recommendation that I referenced in my answer. In fact,
so people are becoming immune to it.
That in 64% of the non-completion
they're just focusing on the one end of violence.
With community corrections, the problem was a lack of record keeping. So we said,
and they're not even,
that situation.
addressing
exactly what we're going to do.
How violence
and, Mr. Speaker,
can escalate.
All of us in this chamber, not just the member opposite, all of us in this chamber take the issue of domestic violence as a serious and profound issue that has impact on people's lives. And Mr. Speaker, when the report was tabled by the Child and Youth Rep, we responded immediately by saying that we are creating a domestic violence unit within our government. It will bring together the resources from those ministries who have currently resources in place. And I can assure you, Mr. Speaker, that unit will be in place, it will be operating, and we will deal with circumstances, hopefully, Mr. Speaker, we all hope profoundly, never to see the same circumstances repeated again.
Oh, you can respect that, right? There's only so much a human being can do. There's only so much a government has to do, or can do, right? At the end of the day, the people themselves have to step up to the plate too, right? Communities, individuals.
So imagine my surprise when I learned last week that the Minister for Arts is sitting on a fund of $3 million, a fund not known to the public, with no application process, without any public knowledge about this fund, and she has to spend it within the next 23 days.
Wow.
Can the Minister explain to this House how a secret fund of $3 million with no application process, no public process, no jury, completely at her own discretion, is open, accountable, and will best support artists and the creative sector of British Columbia?
Minister?
She only has 23 days to spend it? Must be nice to be able to go around and spend $3 million.
$500 million. That is what this government has invested in arts and culture since 2001.
Okay, that's not what we're talking about, though. Stay focused. You're the professional. You know how to do that.
Has been a cut. It's really inconceivable. What we have been able to do, Mr. Speaker, is to work with the arts and culture community. We have maintained funding to the BC Arts Council, the second largest level ever in the history of this province.
And Mr. Speaker, they are providing those grants to a number of arts and culture communities. In addition, Mr. Speaker, the Community Gaming Grant Program provides another $7.5 million to arts and culture groups. That's an increase as well, Mr. Speaker, and we're proud of that investment we're making in arts and culture.
Member has a supplemental.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Well, the minister, in estimates last week, confessed to having $3 million and only 23 days now to actually spend it. Now, she didn't say there was a public process. There is no application process. She admitted to that as well. And she admitted that it was completely up to her how to spend it. Now in this House, she claims that there were no arts cuts. Oops, you might want to tell your finance minister, who admitted to the press that the Liberals cut the arts far too vigorously. Oops, I guess that fact didn't get checked either. $3 million, we forgot about that. We forgot that we cut the arts, the worst in BC history. Well, that would be the BC Liberals. We saw the head of the BC Arts Council resign over political interference, and now we know that in this upcoming budget year, there's also $3 million. It's an election year. Surprise, surprise. The minister pretends to be surprised. Can we ask the minister how she can assure the good people of British Columbia that this $3 million is just not another political slush fund for the Liberals to use to try to help them in failing re-election chances?
I was going to say slush, but I didn't know if that was the right word, so I stayed quiet. You know, I'm not no political guru, right?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I've said already, $500 million, $500 million is what we've invested in arts and culture since 2001. $17.5 million through the gaming grant process.
Okay, let's talk about that $3 million, though. That's what we're talking about. Stay focused.
To our arts and culture groups in 2012-13.
See, they're very cagey at not answering questions when they don't want to, right? Maybe that's social engineering. Because it kind of goes out in the community before you know it. People, you know, nobody wants to talk about anything unless they want to talk about it.
Honourable Speaker, we're talking about a $3 million slush fund, and we're talking about a fund here that's not accountable, that's being driven out of the minister's office. We're talking about a fund that it looks to anybody viewing this is for political purposes. How much of it will get spent in Port Moody? How much of it will get spent in Chilliwack Hope?
Or Surrey?
Honourable Speaker, will the minister commit today to bring an end to these kinds
Dawson
of funds
Creek?
in her office and ensure that they go through the Arts Council or they go through an accountable, transparent body
Kitimat?
and not through her office now?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I do want to say that ultimately responsibility and authority resides with ministers, and the public accounts will reveal all the expenditures that are made with respect to arts and culture grants and programs. So, Honourable Speaker, I just want to assure the member that the programs that we have within our ministry are dealt diligently with staff who review and analyze all the requests we receive, and the member will well know there are always more requests than there are dollars for. And that's one of the reasons why I depend on my staff to take a look at those requests and provide recommendations to me.
The member has a supplemental.
I do, Honourable Speaker. Well, Honourable Speaker, since the minister isn't prepared to make a commitment to move those funds over to an accountable independent body like the Arts Council, since the minister makes vague comments about knowing what this is all about, will the minister release today documentation that tells us exactly what she plans to spend that $3 million on?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And as I've indicated, the BC Arts Council has received the second highest level ever funding, and they do a wonderful job, and they will continue to do that. But Mr. Speaker, if the member is interested in where all the allocations of dollars will be for this ministry and other ministries, the public accounts will be revealing those.
Bell ends question period. Member for Stikine.
rise to present a petition, Honourable Speaker.
Proceed.
This is a petition signed by 258 constituents of Stikine, mostly from small communities and villages in the Upper Skeena, calling on the government to stop the installation of smart meters without consultation against their wishes for privacy, health, and job concerns.
Peace River North.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Seek leave to make an introduction, please.
Proceed.
In the precinct today with me, we have two members from the fire department in Fort St. John, Captain Tom Wharton and Stephen Beard are here. Can I help? Can I get the members to help me make the introduction, please? Welcome.
Madam Clerk.
Orders of the day.
Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In this House this afternoon, we will continue second reading debate of Bill number 22, entitled the Education Improvement Act. And in Section A, we will, in committee, we will be doing the estimates of Minister of Community, Sport and Cultural Development. Should that conclude before the end of the day, we would move to the Minister of Advanced Education.
Committee Chair.
Well, anyway, I'm going to be going downstairs. I'll hook it up downstairs. I'll catch a couple of these. But we need to bring back the Spitfire into the House, eh?
This second reading debate for Bill 22, the minister and the critic each acknowledge this House's deep respect for teachers, and I want to start on that note as well. I'm married to a very gifted teacher, a woman who was born to be a teacher. We didn't realize that when we first met or when we first got married. She thought she was going to be a pharmacist, and I thought I was going to be a doctor, and she chose teaching, and I chose this place. I think she made the smarter choice, and certainly the one with the most long-lasting benefits, because she makes positive changes in children's lives every day with the way that she teaches them. We have many friends, too many to name, who are teachers, many of my constituents. I do want to mention one, Renee Renkema, bravely fighting a terrible battle with cancer, a dear bosom friend of ours, and we're praying for you, Renee, and thinking of you, and I hope you're able to watch this debate. I know it's important to you. The fellow who serves as my constituency association president was my student.